What is good, YouTube? Hope you are all good, hope you're all well, and so it is landed. We are back. It is peak week round 2 for the second show of my season. I figured I need to really up the game with the content because the last fat loading video didn't really go well, guys. I'm not the best at this, it's not my forte. I'm a coach, I bodybuild. I'm good at that. Videography, editing, not my strong point, but I hope you guys appreciate it. I'm just trying to document what goes on so you guys can have a look and see. But anyway, peak week round 2. So following the events of the last show, you know, a little bit of reflection, I guess, on that. The result wasn't how we wanted it to go. And at the end of the day, me and Joe took a gamble. We looked at criteria, obviously, like you would do for a federation, and we tried to match my physique to the criteria as best as possible. Criteria for NFM said no striations in the hamstrings, no ham lines, and no glute lines visible. So in reality, when you look at my physique and then compared to criteria, you know, we matched that, and then up until, you know, pre-stage anyway. And then in the final moments there, we was meant to have about an hour and a half until we went on. This is not excuses or you know, I think I'll come fourth. I'm not too sure. The placements haven't come out yet. But this isn't me trying to make up excuses. I was simply beaten by people on the day. And when we think about bodybuilding and we think about judges judging a show, you've got me and a couple of other physiques that are kind of odd out. You know, I matched class criteria. There were a couple of people that were a little bit softer than that. And then there were 3 guys who were all very, very comparable. Very similar structure to myself, very similar muscularity to myself, but all 3 were in better condition than me. Happy to admit that. They all had striated hamstrings, lines through the hams, glutes, you could just see them striated at the bottom. Now, even though that's not class criteria specifically for NFM, when the judges look in such a subjective sport, you have to mark and judge what's comparable. So, you know, they couldn't just put someone, you know, the 2 or 3 others that looked kind of similar to the criteria or close. When you've got 3 outstanding physiques that are all very comparable, you're going to look at them for 1, 2 and 3, of course. It's natural, you know, we compete in a subjective sport, so it's important not to take placings as, like, don't look at them too emotionally. Reflect on your physique, reflect on where you were. We know what we needed to do to improve the PCA, and the game plan was always the same. Come out the back of that show, crack on with business, no celebrating. Even if I won on the day or did really well, it wouldn't have been celebrated. It was back to business to dig out PCA, because the condition difference between PCA and NFM is a country mile away. PCA like people diced. So after the back of that show, we went into a rapid fat loss protocol, which is, or better well known as a protein spare modifying fast. Now, essentially, the rundown of what that was. So the diet itself is simply just most of the nutritional content coming from protein only, right? So my protein intake was set to 50 grams of protein per 5 meals per day, so 250 gram of protein intake total for the day, and then baseline homeostatic veggie intake to keep my gut motility and GI kind of moving at an okay speed. Don't get me wrong, having that higher protein intake and no other, you know, good fat soluble, water soluble fat sources and good other fat sources coming into the diet, it made digestion slow down quite a lot. But it was manageable and dealable. So roughly my calories worked out at about 1480 per day. Step count went right up to 17k per day. All lipolytics back in, growth hormone, your Himbine clenbuterol ramped right up to really dig out for these last few weeks. And boy, have I felt it. This has been without a doubt one of the hardest challenges that I've been put through since starting bodybuilding. It was a new environment, a completely new challenge, very novel. And as hard as it was, I enjoyed every second. It was the harder it got, it was like it was driving this internal, intrinsic motivation to keep pushing harder. Like, how hard can I suffer? It was weird, because I'm never normally like that. But I think obviously the emotional response coming off the back of the last show, which I tried to keep to a minimum, was still to some degree there, and it kind of pushed me through. But hey, we are here now. So the thing we have to consider with what I've just done is I've done the 90% of a prep already, so I've already suffered from quite a lot of dietary fatigue, mental fatigue and physical fatigue during that duration, right? My body can only put up with so much. So then coming into the rapid fat loss, there was a lot of negligence, there was a lot of resilience, from the body, there was a lot of fight back. So we could see that body fat was reducing at a rapid rate, but scale weight wasn't necessarily matching the swings and move pulls that we saw in composition. But as we know, when you pull away fat, the fat cell itself does not just disappear. Sometimes it is left and there is fluid that will fill that space that then alleviates from there when you come out of a high stress environment. So, you know, as we was looking across the physique, we didn't see like well, I didn't personally see like acute changes that I thought I would, but it's because of this high degree of stress pulling in fluid as we're removing body fat. Stupidly high cortisol response, sleep just absolutely atrocious. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but look, the physique has landed where we needed it. I am very inflamed, I'm very swollen, I'm very tired, very beaten up, and ready to load now and wash off that fatigue. But anyway, guys, this fat load is going to be slightly different to the last fat load. So basically today we're trying to get my food up to somewhat of a maintenance. And the idea here at the start of this week is we are fat loading, right? So what is fat loading? Now, when we think about peak week and we think about firstly and foremostly what kind of physical matter and space are we trying to fill up, we're trying to fill up the muscle cells. Now inside the muscle cells you've got glycogen stores, fructose stores, and also IMTGs, which are called intramuscular triglycerides. So triglycerides are the energy source that is pulled from fat that is then mobilized and shuttled around the body. We have stores of them in the muscle bellies. Now, men tend to have a little bit less than females in comparison in IMTG stores, but we still need to replenish them to finish off a crisper, perfect look to the muscle belly itself, right? So the primary focus of fat loading is to fill up the IMTG space. Now, there's a couple of things additionally that we can do here that's going to help aid the back end of the week and also improve condition slightly. So when we look at the pro fat, so the protein fat meals for the fat load, we are having a high protein intake, so still 250 grams per day, which is going to be driving some element of diuresis. The larger degree of thermogenic of food from protein in comparison to carbs and fats will be driving a little bit of additional expenditure. We have also got to look at the fat sources being used. So for today, I'm loading a little bit less hard, but it's obviously equivalent to my new maintenance calories of about 125 grams of fats. Now, when we think about the fat sources I'm using, there was a very good recent study done. I will have to attach it in the comment section for you. When we look at the difference between saturated fats and unsaturated fats, mono and polyunsaturated fats. And what the study found was that saturated fats, things like butter, tend to blunt insulin resistance, tend to blunt your insulin response, so make you more insulin resistant. But the interesting thing that they found was that a higher abundance of mono and polyunsaturated fats in comparison to saturated fats actually drove up insulin resistance. So I'm going to pop my food up for today, and obviously the food sources that I'll be using across the fat load, and you'll see that the vast majority, bar the dark chocolate, are all coming from the main bulk of mono and polyunsaturated fats. So in this first 3 days of fat loading, or 3.5 days of fat loading, we are obviously driving in that, filling up that IMTG space. We are also trying to drive some essence of further compositional improvements with the high protein, high fat intake, driving diuresis and pulling off fluid. We are also trying to drive some element of insulin sensitivity. Now, this is going to majorly benefit us at the back end of the week when we load in carbohydrates, because now we're in a primed insulin sensitive state, or the most optimal insulin sensitized state to take on those carbohydrates. So again, across the week, outside of these things, what else am I trying to do here? There's a hell of a lot of inflammation and stress in my physique, so we need to rid that across the week. So food is at maintenance or slight energy surplus to rid off and wash that inflammation. So across the week, with the higher food intake going in, we should see some compositional improvements, some slight hardening up and drying off, but also we should start to see that massive fluid pull from the glutes, lower back and midsection, and really start to crispen up, which I'm very much looking forward to. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get into some work, get check-ins wrapped up for this morning, and then I will run you through the day of food and take a look through my day of fat loading. Let's get it. But first, coffee break. Oh, it is the nicest one I've had. I found this brand at Sainsbury's. I put it through a little press filter thing that I bought in Sainsbury's as well. It's from Kilimanjaro, and it says on the packet that the beans have got like a vanilla-y praline kind of sweetness to them, and it is absolutely spot on. I'm not some coffee snob. I don't have some big 600,000 pound barista machine or something at home, and I don't sit there smelling the beans trying to tell you that it's got earthy notes. But it is quite nice and sweet, and obviously being on prep, it does really slap. Also, prep spends, check out the new hockey jersey, Anaheim Ducks. What a sick fucking find this was, eh? Off-season potential, or, you know, prep pump cover, but yeah. Anyway, check-in time, let's get it. What is good, guys? So, smashing everything about. Meal one is up. So we got salmon, avocado, 300 gram of veggies, and a little bit of sugar-free sweet chili sauce. So we got 50 protein and 25 gram of fats coming from this meal. Start the day off. Yeah, apart from that, gonna eat this, go do some steps, walk to Sainsbury's quickly, grab a few little bits that I need, and crack on with the rest of the day. So then, guys, that is check-ins all wrapped up for this morning. Work all done. A couple of paid consults this morning, nothing too stressful. Just some basic considerations for HRT and female PEDs, and some good look at some echocardiograms, which was always fun and enjoyable to dive into. But anyway, we've got a fair few people coming in close to show now. We've got Brent and Georgie, my male and female athlete. Brent in the heavyweights, I believe he'll land. And then Georgie coming in for bikini in 3 weeks, Brent 4 weeks. So after my show, it is game on. We've got all my Australian clients starting to compete in the back end of season B this year, and we've got a fair few that are getting ready for season A already, which is quite nice to see. I've got 4 people in season A, and then it's another 6 in season B next year. Just some ramblings just to fill the day up. So next year, me and Zoe are planning on doing a bit of travelling. Nothing too serious, but I want to be out for the back end of season B in Oz for my clients, so I can do the one-to-one, be there in person, settle people's heads, keep everyone nice and chilled on the day, like I would do in the UK. So guys, I don't know if you didn't realise, but it was my birthday last week. So on the 8th of September I turned 25, and something that's very strange that my family always do is they always used to give me like money when I was a kid, right? But as with all the kids in my family, we've got quite a big family, got older, instead of spending that money and giving them a £5 or a £10, what they do is they buy scratch cards to put in the cards with the same value of whatever they was going to put in the money, right? I'm not sure if other families do this, but it's quite fun because sometimes you get nothing and sometimes you end up walking away with a woozy. So I've got 2 lots of scratch cards here from 2 separate cards from the birthday that have just turned up. We can have a look and see if we got lucky. That might be the post-show dinner treated. Who knows? Let's have a look. Good morning, guys. So, fat loading day 2. First day was a real success. A lot of nice fullness carried back into the physique. I'll throw some shots up in the video, of course, for you guys. But a little bit of fullness carried back through, especially through the upper body. Still some degree quite obviously flat because, you know, we're still only loading in fats, not carbs yet, of course. So there is still some degree of flatness in the physique, but you can see the change in fullness from day 1 to day 2. It's so clear. It's lovely to see. A little bit of hardening up across the skin in a few spaces, a little bit dry, exactly as expected. And we saw a massive fluid drop last night. So I woke up yesterday after the final day of fat loading about 1 kilo up, about 89.3 or 89.4 kg. This morning woke back up at 88.3, sorry, 88.8, so I'm back down to roughly where I was, or close enough to it, right? And we have to also factor in that a larger food volume has gone in yesterday with the increase of fats going back into my diet, the slowing down of gut motility, of course, because of the slowing down of the slower digesting macronutrient being fat coming through, passing through, which would all lead to some kind of indication that potentially we should see some scale weight fluctuation here back up. Now the drop in fluid is quite clear in the physique. We can see the systemic layer has dropped off a lot of fluid, a little bit sharper. But it's very nice and promising data for us to see that fatigue being pulled and see it in physical data, what we can see in the shots, and then also in the data to suit alongside that, which was fantastic. But anyway, plan for today is exactly the same as yesterday. Groundhog day, rinse and repeat, 250 protein, 125 fat. The only thing that's changed here is we're pulling steps from 13k down to 10k. So yeah, going to be a nice, somewhat easy day. Just about to jump into the morning's check-ins with the Aussie crew, see how everyone's doing. And apart from that, it's a pretty crystal clear day. But yeah, so Digestimax going in, Strom Sports Nutrition, Digestimax, get it right. Going in again, same as it does every morning, but this morning I decided to blend it up with some ice and water, just make it a little bit more enjoyable. But anyway, optimal digestion, let's get to it. On a side note, I'm obviously not affiliated to any sponsors at present, so this isn't me trying to push this into you guys. But just in comparison from last week to this week, in just looking at my digestive motility, how my stomach feels, you know, how I feel on the midsection bloating wise. The fat load is a little bit lighter than it was last time. But even then, like all through prep, all through the off season, I relatively have a low fat intake diet. I think the highest my fat's got in the off season was like 33 grams, and it only titrated up over time because of trace fats going back into my diet. So I didn't really have many direct fat sources bar my meat sources, which were all lean meats, so there was only very small fat from that. And then one additional dark chocolate, right? In the evening, I had 20 grams of dark chocolate with my meal. So the whole time I've been in this low fat environment. So my gut microbiome is used to its familiarity and its habituality, of consistency and what it's used to in its routine, right? The gut microbiome likes routine. So last week's peak week, last week's fat loading, I was bloated, I was sore, I was painful, I was gassy, I just felt shit because of my digestion being so slow. Now I got this at the back end of last week. I used to use it in the off season, it was fantastic, and I hadn't had it for ages. And straight away, this fat load everything's moving through me so much more efficiently and at such more normal rate that I feel a lot better. The food being utilised a lot better because of my gut motility, because of the digestive enzymes being optimised thanks to the probiotic features of the Digestamax. Like everything is just moving a lot more smoothly this time, which is very, very good for me because it keeps the stress off my physique and stops me from pulling in fluid as such. But yeah, just to let you know, guys, I'm not affiliated with anything like that. I don't get it from a store. I'm not going to drop my fucking link in below, but it is just a fantastic product and one that I highly recommend. To be fair, I recommend every single thing from the Strom line, especially their Support Max line. It's a really, really phenomenal brand that really care and think specifically to bodybuilding and what we do. Yes, gang, so YouTube, we are coming to the end of the second fat load day. Nothing really exciting to kind of dive into, guys, which is why I was trying to hope I could condense all of the fat loading days into one video for you. Tomorrow, maybe something interesting, maybe a change in food coming, but realistically, we've got training back in tomorrow, probably another expenditure pull, perhaps. But outside of that, I thought I'd give you guys a little look at my new prep spend because they're getting thick and fast now the closer I'm getting in. But I've been toying with the idea of getting a Nintendo Switch for ages, guys, right? And as you've probably seen on my Instagram stories, I've spoken about it before, like on prep, my thing is playing Pokemon because of, you know, I've spoken before about how I relate to it now. I think there's similarities between bodybuilding mentality and that progressive essence of the game and the whole purpose of it. And I was toying with the idea of getting a Nintendo Switch. Firstly, because, like, there's games you can get for it, like Mario Kart and like really chilled, easy games that when you got people over, like to have something to eat and a chill one at yours, like it's just funny just to chuck it on and have a laugh. But more so, look at this bad boy, OLED, big screen. More so I can play the new Pokemon games whilst I'm in a deficit. And no doubt, I've just bought this. I guarantee you that when prep is over and I've got calories back in, I will have no interest to play it. But I've got it there for when fat loss happens again, inevitably in the future. And a fair few holidays and travelling coming up with the plans next year, so I'm sure it will come in handy on the flights at some point. But yeah, for now, it's getting me through the back end of the days, especially now that expenditure's getting pulled. I flipping hate this. This is the worst bit for me, is being told to sit on my ass, because one of the things I do to keep myself distracted from hunger and appetite is steps, and it was great. You know, when you got 17k steps to do, you're always walking. But now with 10k steps today, I've needed to fill up my time, and this has been perfectly timed really to turn up. But anyway, plan for the rest of the evening, guys. I'm going to kick back and do the usual, get my last meal in at about 7, which is Greek yogurt, protein, peanut butter and dark chocolate, same as yesterday. Makes like a nice like pistachio ice cream, it bangs. But yeah, so we're going to do that, have an evening smoke, get all the tablets and everything all ready to rock and roll, and then it's wrap up, put a film on and probably not watch it, scroll for Insta and fall asleep. But yeah, good night for now, and I'll see you in the morning. What is good, gang? So, third and final day of fat loading on its own. Just to wait for the sun to come up. I've weighed myself this morning, we're 88.8, so no change in scale weight from yesterday. I'm going to run outside in this lovely car park here and get my check-in done for Joe, and then let you guys know the plan for the day. What's good, guys? So fat loading day number 3. Again, I wanted to try and, like I said, condense these videos down into one whole fat loading video, because realistically it's a bit the same, it's a bit monotonous. So again, woke up today a little bit fuller, very fractionally fuller in that little bit of IMTG space in the muscle cells. We can see I look a little bit fuller. I feel it when I'm posing, like I can feel it a little bit thicker. Still somewhat flat, of course, until carbs go in. But yeah, same thing again. Protein 250, 125 fats, and 10k expenditure again. So weight held steady overnight, 88.8 again today. Very good indication of things to come when we start loading, and in pretty much the optimal position to load now, which is very, very promising in how I'm looking and how I'm feeling. Digestion's still moving all smooth. So yeah, work's all done for the day. The only thing that was different today was a slight depletion workout. So I just got back from the gym. On the menu today was rep range of 10 to 20, in between 10 to 20 at a prescribed proximity to failure of 4 reps in reserve across all sets. And the sets were a lat focused pull down for 4 sets, so 4 sets in the 10 to 20 rep range, 4 reps in reserve. Then I did 3 sets of a chest supported T-bar row, again 10 to 20 reps, 4 reps in reserve, 3 sets. And then we finished with some crossbody tricep extensions, same parameters again. So just a little bit of depletion work going on there. Had to kind of double check myself on step count. Yesterday I was pretty much bang on 10k. I was like, I think I was just under 10.1, like 10,098 or something stupid like that. So no morning walk this morning. I saved it and realised that if I'm training, I obviously have to park at the car park, walk to the gym. That's usually a good couple of thousand taken up getting there and back, both ways. So had to moderate my steps. But at the moment we're up to about 6k. Plan for now that work's all finished off, is I'm going to go and cook my next meal. Same meals I've been having every day. So nothing really new and exciting to show you guys, sadly. But carbs do go in tomorrow. But anyway, plan for the rest of the day, kick back. I've got the new Prep Spend, the Nintendo Switch, to back out today. Obviously, you know, Pokemon Legends Arceus is getting smashed. The first like real RPG version of Pokemon, which is pretty cool. You know, something when I was a little kid I already kind of wanted. You know, to be able to free roam and shit on them games would have been so sick. But yeah, so I can enjoy it now on prep. Like I said, I think I said this yesterday in the video, there's a good chance that the minute I start getting food back in me post-comp, post-season, I'm not going to want to touch it or look at it again. I'm going to be bored, because it is always a fat loss thing with me. But hey, it's there for the future. Anyway, tomorrow's plan, obviously, it'll be in the next video, guys. I'll wake up, I'll see what Joe says after check-in, and we'll go from there. But it will probably be something along the line similar to last week, where I have my first 2 meals as protein fats, similar as what I've been having on the fat load, and then carbs will start going in when we train tomorrow, push session, as far as I'm aware. But we'll see, who knows, it all depends on the day, depends on the morning. Anyway, guys, that was fat loading. So yeah, it is very much the same, very, very similar. But hopefully you guys have got a little bit more of an understanding of why we do it, what we're trying to do or drive in that process. But anyway, guys, until the next one, YouTube, peace and love.